Welcome podcast to the track hearing Order of Life Demetori. Yeah, this track literally it's one of the best Demetori tracks as well. There are so many good tracks, it's hard to pick, but this one, it's just got such a, I guess like J-rock, such a J-pop vibe. I'm not sure if that's the correct genre. It's like so ethereal, if that's the right term, I don't know. You just get this feeling like you're flying. It's so fucking good. The only problem is you can't find a good audio track of it, so there's always like this weird peaking issue. Weirdly enough, I had this with a track like quite a few years ago, like Metallica's one. There's like the part where the breakdown was louder than everything else. I don't even know how the fuck that happens, but it happens somehow. It's quite rare, but it just seems to be where people will overestimate or underestimate in some cases the audio. Pick it that it needs like more adjustment and stuff. In reality it doesn't. So it's just weird. But anyway, I love this track. It's just got such a vibe to it, and it being a Toho cover as well, like just adds to that magical feeling. Oh god, there's a fall. God. What a fancy 40 fucking hour. Are we gonna bait this? I don't know. It's just like so interesting. Yeah, it's fascinating, this track. Just so much going on. The melodies are great, the entire sort of idea of it, the symphonic part as well is just gorgeous. It's such an inspiring track as well. You just don't really expect that from a metal track, but you know, it's technically metal despite everything. Yeah, and I just love the tones as well. This is the other thing about old Demetori. But the tones are magical in their own way. They do feel like they're just different, like they're a bit overdriven, but they're also not too much overdriven. And it sounds very clean. That's what I like about it. It's not muddy at all. And that's why I say it all sounds like a rock track rather than metal. Literally because it sounds like it's got rock tones in it. And it being symphonic as well just adds to it. Yeah, I've always loved this track. So what else is there? Bridge is interesting. There's two of them, I think. The solo is really good. Just so much to this track, and eventually, technically speaking, Demetori actually did remake this track, but I'm not as keen on the new one, even though it's more metal. I certainly prefer this one. Just more of a vibe. You know, it's one of those tracks that I think could be very recognisable if you actually know Demetori or just like this sort of music in general. And it's like perfect for an anime. It feels like if we're in an anime Toho somewhere. I don't know how that would be possible. It probably would be actually. It'd be great, I think. Though I'd only hope they add men to it as well. It's the only thing I don't like about Toho. It's all women. Like, I'm not fucking misogynist, but come on. When shows do that, it does feel like it's pandering. It's not really a case of like, I don't like women. I love women. But the problem is, I also like men. So it's kind of a weird balance where I don't know how animes get it wrong all the time, even just anime styles. Yeah, it frustrates me, but anyway. That's the track. Yeah, let's move on. So I did have a useful tip today, and I don't know how I didn't know this before, because it's been a fucking crux of pain for so long. And you know, there's two ways to go about it depending on the situations. The other one I just realised now, weirdly enough. even though I don't have this thing anymore. They'll talk about how to pick up a piece of paper off the floor, and it's so fucking annoying to do so. Basically, use your feet. You can do this on both carpet and hard floor. I'm not sure about grainy stuff, but I think it's still better to do that because it gives you a way to scoop underneath the paper, so even if it goes up or bends, it can still be useful. So do that, and you save yourself a bunch of time rather than trying to pick it off the floor and also get your hands dirty as well. Just avoids so many problems I've had in the past with picking things up off the floor, or paper specifically. I don't know what else you can pick up like this. Well, technically I do like this weird trick with like socks and boxes where I can be able to put my feet underneath them and kick them into the washing basket. It's extremely difficult. I don't know what the deal with that is, but sure I did it. It just works. So the other way to do this is on carpet, and this only works on like a thick carpet, I think. So not really not like soft rug, but just normal carpet. But you just press it down with your finger, and it puts the paper in a position where it's like being pressed down. It raises itself, and it just works. That's all the point. It's like the only point to it there. So I do think it works out there. I'm getting distracted. What the fuck is going on? I can't remember what I was doing. A tip. Yeah, what's my video playing? Music, that's why. Yes, that's the tip. It's pretty good in my opinion. I'm quite proud when I find these because it's a small thing that helps, and I think others will find it helpful as well. I think it's even more helpful if you're like elderly. It definitely works if you're elderly, if you have legs still. No offense to those without legs. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother joking about that. Fuck that. I get mobbed by the granny gang. That Monty Python. I can't remember, but that's the tip, so let's move on. I forgot to mention with this one, to clarify, when I say using your foot, I mean using both. You put one down, say, and use the other to scoop it up. That's it, and it just bends or goes on your feet, that's it. It's easy to pick up then. So yeah. So I've got to explain the disclaimer in my video descriptions, and people are confused by this, I think, but at the same time, people might think it means something else. And I did get this comment recently about essentially calling this out, saying that nobody cares, which is ironic because people do fucking care. For some reason, when it comes to discussions, when it is about my ability to speak, which I do struggle with. Newsflash, I have speech issues. It's not something I fucking control, because half people are deaf to it and half people can understand it. Even then, nobody's transparent. They're not like, oh, well, I can understand a bit of it. Nope, nobody says that. So it is half and half, literally. 50-50 whether people understand me or not. It fucking sucks. So I want to go through the description and also what it means, essentially. See if I can get on there. So disclaimer before you target practice on me, I'm on the autism spectrum and have global learning delays to explain that. Yeah, I've been diagnosed as on the autism spectrum twice, once as a kid and again as an adult. I found I had a type called PDD, and that's a type that makes me socially inept, essentially, as well as more anxious than the average person. And then the global learning delays, which I only found out as an adult because I didn't actually know about this as a kid. That turned out to be a diagnosis from childhood, and I can actually see it being a thing. There are so many places where I've realised I can't learn things and can't even understand things. I was looking at a letter the other day that I fucking got, and I ended up calling about it to get fucking cancelled because of shit that was in it. But it's like, I struggle to read that. I looked through it a few times and it's like, I still can't understand this. Admittedly, I don't have my glasses, so that didn't help. Just got the fucking bath, and yeah. But the learning delays definitely exist, even if they aren't global. I definitely can't learn artwork, I can't really learn a lot of things, surprisingly. There are things I want to learn and can't because of, well, that. I don't know what's caused it, what it is, but it's like related to autism, so it's there. And then I wrote another thing. These can impact my environment and universal learning ability, so sort of explained it, and yeah, it does. Autism, my environment, with regards to like sensory issues, is very fucking impactful, and it does change the way I think, and also the way I learn. And the way I learn is obviously very difficult in itself, but this can impact it as well. Because when I'm in a state of meltdown, shut down, learning is not something that is a priority for me, so it just goes right out the window. And then there's a last thing here, which is speech issues, and I've had these since childhood. So to sort of explain it, I had speech therapy since childhood, well, in childhood rather. I didn't get along with it. In fact, it didn't really help. I don't even remember anything from it. And it's bad enough that when I was there, I was going into constant meltdowns and shutdowns. And one day I just ended up fucking shitting myself. I don't know how, but it just happened. I remember having to, because like I was in a pair of underwear, get someone to pick me up and shit. It was a fucking disaster. And speech issues are very much impactful in that, in my life in general. Because people struggle to understand what I say, they're not always able to hear what I say. It's really fucking common. I just wish it wasn't. I don't know. This is the thing, I can't actually find any sort of support. I can't even find any way to address these problems. And that's often leading to more and more issues. Yeah, like people say, like in the comment I got recently in the comments, people say that it's just saying that you're a victim or you just want paradise, or even just saying this to make people feel sorry for you, which I don't know where people get this from. It's literally there to do two things. Because I've actually thought about this for years now, and that's why I kept it in there without deleting it. It's a channel default. But it's there to educate smart people and expose idiots. And ironically, someone took the bait. So yeah, good job. A bit many people have taken it, I think, as well. So, you know, it really depends on the type of person you are, but just because I have these issues doesn't mean I'm not stupid. Doesn't mean I'm stupid, I mean. Yeah, either one. You know, the point is, I think people can underestimate my ability to do things, and it does have consequences for them, ironically, because I'm of a different, I don't know what you call it, like tier. When it comes to, I don't know, like, it's not intellectual, so I fucking hate that term. It really puts people on a pedestal when they say shit like that, but there's something along the lines of having more knowledge and understanding than the average person, even despite the learning issues. And I think the most important thing is just having the heart to do so. Again, the disclaimer isn't there to specifically invoke an emotion, it's there to, again, educate the people who understand. or just make them aware, and then expose idiots on the other hand. Because these are things that are not in my control. And guess what? When you figure that out, everything starts to make sense. You know, why do I sound like that? Why do I sound like I've got a dick in my mouth, which I'd love to have? Do I sound like I've got a burger in my mouth? There's a lot of different comments I've had over the years. But again, it always comes down to just myself not being able to change that. There's no changing these patterns or behaviours. And until there is an actual solution, a viable one, it's just not going to change. So that's where we're at with that. And it's just confusing that people seem to just want to push the point home that, again, I fucking deserve the world's coming to me because of these issues. You know, I'm a lot stronger than they are, so that's why they pick on me. So, anyway, better move on, but I wanted to explain that. So, yeah. I must get this done. Fucking hell. So I've just been made aware of the Ashes of Creation controversies, and there has been quite a few, but this one, it might just be one of the worst gaming related stories I've ever fucking heard. It's actually nuts, and I haven't even looked into it. This is just what I've seen at face value. And it's so harrowing of a story that, you know, compared to something like the Blizzard Activision situation that happened a while ago, it almost pales in comparison, because it's not even the same thing. This is like completely different. It's not a social problem. It's a physical problem and a mental problem for that matter. In terms of the greed here, it just absolutely blew my mind how bad this situation was. So, according to John here, who also referred to another channel, I forgot the name, sorry, who did a great investigation on this by the looks of it, it seemed like they actually, the Ashes creation, might as well just go back in the video and see what it is. So, confused because I can't remember the names very well. It's been bad with that. So what's wrong with Zilla today? It's just lagging like shit. Yes, it's Stephen Sheriff's. And apparently his husband. And just to make people aware, no, not all LGBTQ plus people are like this dickhead. So, said husband, I'm not sure is that true. No, I swear I like to sort of say husband, so I was a bit worried about that. So yeah, apparently with all this backing and stuff, he obviously made this game, Ashes Creation. It's been around in the media for a long time because of people who just prop it up on a pedestal, which it didn't really deserve, to be honest. It's been everywhere, it's been headlines, and it's been playtests and shit. It's got so much coverage that it's just insane. But it had some issues, and well, with it being a Kickstarter and stuff, there were immediately some issues with that. But nobody batted an eye, and this is kind of my first problem with this. Nobody did an investigation into this, and when you had content creators like Husband Gold and Lazy Peon, I think Lazy Peon, so take it with a grain of salt, just recording talking about this sometimes, but they like propped this game up on the pedestal and said, oh, it's the greatest thing that's ever fucking existed. What the fuck are you on about? Because the game isn't even out yet. We haven't seen what it's like, we haven't seen it in testing. And you're already saying it's a great game, and you're already like putting it up on this pedestal again. It's just like, what are you doing? Why? It doesn't help the game, and it backfires in most cases. In my experience anyway, it does. just sucks. I can't believe that. Yeah, there's already an issue from that point on. But there became other issues as well, which I can't remember to the full extent, but there were like dramas, I think, with how like Asmongold and it could be Laser Peel, I can't remember if it was actually him. But there were issues with how they were addressing it. I think there was dramas. And it wasn't even related to the things that we found out today, which was apparently Stephen Sheriff is a part of a multi-level marketing scheme. Which is kind of like not surprising in the slightest. It's just like they find the newest avenue to essentially pick people out with this shit. And it sucks. It fucking sucks. It's so bad. I just genuinely do not understand the logic behind these people. So that's already bad enough. But then it turns out that, according to this investigation, he was asking for money from investors, and he said this was a game about not having investors. Like, there's just so much weird fucking shit going on. Apparently, this game's company that is anti-investor is taking investments, and yeah, they probably need to, but they say they're not calling up to them, so this obviously didn't age well, and that's just a bad thing in general. And the other problem was, Young Air put it as well, there were, I think Young Air might have been comments as well, there was people just literally so invested in making this game a reality. People who truly believed in it, and now they don't even get to see that. They apparently don't even get a paycheck now, which is like the most fucking evil thing I've heard in a long time. For someone, people who've worked on a game this hard, seemingly anyway, I don't actually know for sure, but say they have. It's just fucking awful. Just, it doesn't make any sense. I couldn't even imagine not being paid for labour, like merely even just not being paid in general. It just wouldn't help my mental health. I'd probably be trying to kill myself. I'm not even joking about that, because I honestly don't see how I can live without money at this point. Society's so fucked up that you just have to rely on it. So what else is what else happened there? Oh yeah, apparently Stephen was like taking money from investors to supply funding for the his mansion and stuff and his mortgage. It's just all sorts of fucked up. There's corruption and greed going on here, and it seemed like this was actually a ploy to just get away with the money, rather than actually make a decent game. And it doesn't surprise me in some ways as well, because that's sort of what the game felt like it's trying to do anyway. Just to try to run away with the money, as it usually tends to be. It's so bad. And the other thing that's just crazy about this is the investors as well. Like, who the fuck are these people? Why are you giving this company money? It genuinely doesn't make any sense. There's so many holes in this. I just wonder, like, how much time is it before we start to see a serious, like, lawsuit or prison sentence? Like, there's genuinely so many things going wrong here. It doesn't help at all. Like, it sucks so bad. And then, wherever they even put this money, is it like all in the mansion, or is it just in cars and stuff? Like, literally multi-level marketing, but gaming, it seems like. Completely fucked everyone, and it's just such a shit situation. So, yeah, I don't really know what else to add there, but again, it just feels so fucked up, and there was some guy apparently who invested, who put in his life savings, like about 80 million or so, just to keep his game alive, supposedly. turns out it's going to Stephen. That's just like, why? You shouldn't be spending that much money, and this is why I say that greed is not only a dangerous thing, but just putting all this money into things that you believe in, even remotely, is just a dangerous thing to do. It's just nuts. Nobody should be doing that. I say this with gachas, I say this with microtransactions. No amount of money is fucking worth the consequence that could come with it. Generally what I'd say. It's just, I don't know why people just do this. It's so frustrating. You know, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, what a shit situation. I feel very sorry for the people who didn't get paid for this. It's just absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion. Maybe there's a place that they can work, maybe there's someone who can pick them up. Like, there has to be some sort of solution here. There has to be some good guy company out there that's actually looking out for these people. Say company, corporation, but there's no such thing as a good corporation, I don't think, in this economy anyway. Even then, there has to be someone out there to look out for these people, and honestly, you know, if it comes out that it's all actually confirmed and true, having sort of GoFundMe or something like that, you can actually help the former developers out would be great, as long as it's obviously confirmed and stuff. Like, get proof of it. The right person's doing it, the right people have agreed to it, the developers have also spoken out about it, you know. There's all sorts of barriers that we need to address there, but, you know, that's what I'm thinking anyway. It's so important. I don't really know what else to add. Yeah, it's just a shit situation, and again, it's just so bad. It's one of the worst stories I've heard. Sexual assault and suicide are a different topic entirely, but compared to just not getting your pay, not being able to pay rent, or even being able to pay food because of not being paid money to start with, that's gonna fucking suck. And I imagine people have savings, but in this economy, do you? It always comes back to that question. It's like, the economy. Do you have the money in this economy? And it's like, no. A lot of people don't. It's just so fucking frustrating. And again, I have to mention that every time people think that they need to get rich to be successful, or whatever, that's not how you fucking do it. It leads to shit like this. You can get absolutely carried away with your money. Even then, if that's like the motivation to do it, you're already off to a bad start. And you're not even leading a good example in that sense, because people who sort of look up to you in a way, I don't imagine many people do, depending on who you are, it's just going to lead a bad example as well. Like, your priority shouldn't be getting rich, it should be getting something good out there. It shouldn't be anything fucking else. Good products, good pay, that's it. But not exaggerated pay, like we currently see, like in this situation. Anyway, yeah, so that's the situation, but yeah, that's just a bit. Better move on because I've got stuff to do. Yeah, sad situation. Again, hope everyone gets out of it fine except for Stephen, his husband, and I don't know. Like, are the investors to blame? That's something I've wondered. To an extent, you need to spend your money better, but also investors, like, usually are just shitty anyway. And if you're MLM as well, like, fuck you. Like, you deserve that shit. Like, nobody likes it. Like, multi-level marketing, I'm just gonna pronounce it now. Just fuck off. Fuck all that garbage, and then you'll gain some sympathy. Until that point, and, so yeah. Let's move on to the next topic if I can. So, the other nice, like, disturbing that I just realised it's not a pleasant topic, but well, nothing ever is when I talk in a bad mood, really. I got thinking about this when I realised a lot of my flaws in my past and even some of my recent beliefs. One of the things I sort of started to realise is myself trying to be like 100% kindness, well, that's technically not possible, so it's more like 90%. It has its drawbacks, and I think I have to explain how, no matter what, I think there's always going to be that inconsistency where people have that essentially balance, but it's usually like a 50-50. So, fuck is that noise? I don't know what it was. Like either someone talking or some dog screaming. Maybe the same thing, but who knows? Uh, where was I? Fuck, that distracted me. Uh, I completely forgot where I was. That's really annoying. I was talking about the 50-50 here. So 50% kindness and 50% selfishness. So selfless and selfless, basically. And that's a good balance, in my opinion. I really think that's beneficial to a lot of people. You know, I'd like to think that a lot of the things I do in my life is for selflessness, like even uploading videos, even making music and artwork, playing music as well, where can no doubt benefit people in the future. Fuck is that noise? Like, people just don't know when to fucking shut up. It's fucking nuts. Um, yeah, I was trying not to get distracted, but it's easier said than done. Literally, it's only a balance of 50-50 that can work here. I don't see how any other way would work, because even if you try to unbalance it, like for example a bit more kindness, you're gonna have consequences to that as well. There's consequences to every fucking action, but really striking a balance seems to be the best course of action. You know, the consequences obviously being taking a toll on your mental health and your physical health in some cases. In my case, if I were to put even more fucking time and money into the hobbies I do that I share with people, it would definitely take a toll on my mental health. I'd start to have issues, I'd start to procrastinate, start to be panicking about it, because I already panic about the amount of time I do on them anyway. And it's worse now because I'm being distracted by Final Fantasy 14 and it's really absurd grind, honestly. It's way too absurd, too steep. Um, yeah, that's an issue. So when it's unbalanced like that, when I'm not able to focus like in the other way, like it's going more the selfish route here, it doesn't help my mood at all. It does make it a bit problematic. And I really need some sort of way to like focus on the things I want to do without obviously having to get away from these things. Like the biggest problem in my life at the moment, being able to assign time to exercise. You know, that's I wouldn't say it's like a selfless thing, but it's more of a selfish thing, I guess. Sort of focus on my own health. But it does sort of tie into the other, so it's kind of a bit of both. I need to find ways to do that, and that's a big problem for me. Um, yeah, when you go too much into like selfishness, you start to not have any sort of, I don't know what to call them, obstacles or hardships. But that's one of the sort of interesting things about that. You do need obstacles and hardships in your life to make it remotely better, even somewhat balanced. I think without that, you probably will struggle constantly. That's essentially why you need that. Um, trying to think, is there anything else? Yeah, that's the other thing. What I see a lot of in society now is suicide itself is not good enough, and doing work in itself, I guess it's like a selfless act, but you're doing it for money. It's sort of harder to define in that sense. But it's still benefiting people, assuming it's a good job. But yeah, I actually think that a lot of people just go more in the selfish direction, and that's not good. It does seem to be the thing ruining the world, and it even ties into a more disturbing aspect of topics where people will go all in on some fucking open discussion, and like just push that home. Like literally, I saw the recent Epstein thing, and the fucking they bring this up. It's just all distraction from everything else. They keep doing this. They send us in circles by releasing new files every time an American is killed. Every time an American is killed, they blame someone else. And they follow up with something to do with Epstein. It's a fucking broken cycle, and it never seems to stop. Uh, Interesting. Um, no, so I was looking at something else. Fuck. No, the Epstein thing. Is a most critical video. Immediately, someone in the comments saying it's time to scare paedophiles again. Yikes. And they're saying yikes because you have not done any research. You haven't actually looked into this at all, let alone even noticed the pattern. Like, it's so fucking dumb. I genuinely do not understand. But you cannot scare paedophiles. That's something I've learned the hard way. And it's all I've tried to expose them and call them out. Obviously, in my own way. I'm not really a public thing because making it public will also lead to more danger. It makes more victims, unfortunately. Um, scaring them doesn't do anything. It literally doesn't do anything because the last thing they'll be scared of, literally, is nothing. I don't really think there is. They know their life is fucked because of this problem they have, and even some of the crimes they committed, it's already fucked. So no, there's no scaring them. So you have to find a different tactic instead. Yeah, that's why I encourage the route of doing something selfless. Um, you just need to fucking get into the research, find out what the best course of action is, like the prevention, what is it, trying to think of the term, treatment, I guess, term. But I think that's probably the most useful part of that. And obviously knowing the signs as well, like when they can attack, when they can. I'm not sure what the other thing is. Also like knowing victim behaviour as well. Because the harder you notice these things, the easier it gets, no doubt. And that's what I mean with being selfless. A lot of people have a selfish idea of getting rid of the people who they disagree with, and this is stupid. It's very much a bigotry over thing, a bigoted thing, and just anyone can do it. But it seems to be very common with people on the right, which, well enough, is where people are most selfish and the least selfless. But that's where it happens, and it's the same line of logic. To say scare the paedophiles doesn't actually do anything. It's not done anything for the past, what, 100 years? How many years have we had the age of consent? Like, genuinely, it makes me wonder, have you even thought about this? Have you actually looked into what it can do proper prevention and again, my research has only led to that fact. I just realise that the best course of action is again prevention, and seek treatment as well in the case where there is a place for it to be treated. Yeah, people don't really pay attention to that, so we don't see any change, which fucking sucks for the victims and it sucks for potential victims as well. So yeah, like, they always will exist. And again, that's something that has to be addressed at the source. I'm pretty sure there's some fucking research somewhere where they found it like as early as childhood or something. The attraction to children, as in an age gap sort of thing, not like a same year or a few years apart. It's like 10 years or something. Really varies. That's apparently when it can happen, and that's sort of a sign that you just need to pay attention to it, and also education really help in that sense. I think teaching children about the age of consent is important, as well as obviously something like age should be even dating or anything. It's the biggest problem I've seen myself personally. Our education's not good enough in that sense, and we still had not only teenage pregnancies at school, but also children being fucking abducted and even getting into relationships with adults. And it's just like, okay, yeah, the lack of education is to blame for that. I don't even recognise any education about not talking to strangers and stuff. Maybe it's changed since I've been to school, but that's my education, and it's pretty shit. So yeah, again, not a comforting topic, but I feel like it's got some importance to it. Importance. Let's see. Gonna move on. Yeah, another AI dystopia. Fucking what? I don't get the full story, but it's worth a discussion anyway, based on what I know of it anyway. But apparently I think Meta is, could be wrong on that, is making a basically AI for people who've left social media or have for some reason died. And yeah, there's already breaches so many ethical codes, in my opinion. It's so concerning because, this shit was going to happen, but it shouldn't have happened. And that's the problem. It should be restricted who can and cannot use it. And I've said this since the beginning. There were going to be problems with it, there were going to be exploits with it. And nobody listened. Instead, they just told me it's inevitable. It's like a flock of seagulls, I guess. They sing the same tune. That's what people are doing. AI is inevitable. That's all they ever fucking said. And then we're here, and they don't want it. And it's suddenly like, oh, I don't want AI. And, they're facing the consequences. RAM shortage. Storage shortage as well. I'm pretty sure there's another one that's happening. Oh, fuck me, I better get my Steam Deck quick because I don't even know how long it's going to be there for. Actually, the case is severe enough that I might even have to use my next month's money just to get it, because there is no fucking way that in the next few months it's going to improve pricing or anything, which sucks. I do need to find a way to get it cheaper, I suppose, but it's still a problem. But my fucking god, I warned about this, and Black Mirror literally had an episode about this. There's an episode where, spoiler, I forgot, it's an earlier episode, but basically, this woman had lost her husband, went missing, no clue where he went, no confirmation or anything, no closure, and she decided to upload all his photography, videos and stuff, everything related to him, to a AI company. And this was back in like 2013, keep in mind, before any of the stuff we have now. Way fucking ahead of its time. And now people are seemingly making this today. Just is absolute fucking insanity. Just so dystopian as well. The thing with like loss and closure is like you do have to sort of accept it. Some of the harsh realities of it. It's not pleasant, but you do have to understand that it happens even when you don't want it to. You don't expect it to. There's so many reasons why it happens, and it's sort of hard to identify exactly why, especially in a case where someone's gone missing, like you literally don't know. Yeah, they could have endured the worst pain, you never know. But that's what a part of life is, sadly. And in fact, animals go through much worse. It's something I always try to remind myself, not when it comes to loss, but when it comes to feelings of either existential dread or even just purpose in life. It's just, there's that bad side to it. It's constant bad sides. You know, as much as it's okay to make it better in other ways, just solve a problem like this just is so unethical. Like, you're not going to bring that person back, and it's not going to be the same person. Yeah, the Black Mirror episode on this was really good because I think it was the girlfriend that shows it. Must have been wife because she was pregnant as well. But she also got this AI bot, literally a thing that she uploaded her husband to, hang out with him and stuff, got to know him. Turns out he didn't know what a lot of things were because an AI doesn't know what sex is or what's the other term? Is that affection? I don't know what you call it. So some sort of fucking terminology anyway, but for being romantic with your partner. It explored that aspect. The AI didn't know it, but got on with it anyway. And the lady started to realise that she didn't like this. Tried to abandon him essentially, but it sort of didn't work out. And she started to get tired of him. And that's one of the other aspects of this. So if you've lost someone, you replace them with a partner, AI partner, I mean, you're going to have problems. You're going to have attachment issues, but you're also going to have the same issues that you had when you're with that person, if you had any. Like, that's why we move on from these things. The reason why people do that. That's why people have done it through history. It's because that's a part of life, again. So, again, this whole situation with Meta seemingly getting on board with this shit is just, yeah, it's gross as fuck. But I suppose the other thing I could say, if I'm trying to remember what I was gonna say actually. Fuck. Probably ADHD. Just forget fondness all the time. I can't remember, but there was something else really important about this. Move on to another partner, I suppose. If I haven't already said that. It's not about replacing them, it's about having more experience and yeah. I can't remember what the thing was. It's really frustrating. That's the gist of it though. They find it's pretty important. Part of a topic. But then again, one of the other things to realise, this isn't the thing I've remembered, is that every loss is another strength for you. Essentially, does kind of make you stronger. Even though I haven't gone through enough of it in my lifetime, you know, with pets and stuff, with enough not really relatives. It's actually been very rare. I've been actually extremely lucky with relatives. But with loss, it's like you have to move on eventually. It's also important to just accept it. That's what it is. Someone gone missing, that's the point. Yeah, if you replicate an AI person, someone you know, or if you replicate someone you know as an AI partner, you might just get sick of it. That's just the reality of it. And literally, the Black Mirror episode ends with the compromise where the husband now has to live in the AI husband lives in the cellar, the attic. I can't remember what it's called actually. We call it attic in the UK. He lives in there whilst the daughter spends times with either of them, and the daughter doesn't actually know, I don't think. Just kind of bizarre, but freaky as well. It's just such a bad situation. And oh yeah, that's the other thing. The fact that there's also people who just go offline in general, who just don't come back. I've had this fucking hundreds of times in my time of being on the internet. You know, back in like 2011 when I was on Steam for the first time, I've got my 16 years of service badge now, I think. Actually, might have been 2010 then. But you know, back in the day, you would add friends, and then a year later you'd check, and it'd be like, oh, this one hasn't been online for over a year. What has happened? You just remove them. Not really a concern unless you know them personally. But it's just like that's something that happens. You know, you're not gonna fucking ask me to replicate someone I randomly met on Team Fortress 2, are you? That would be fucking ridiculous. Jesus Christ. Again, it's so dystopian. I don't know these people from Team Fortress 2. Okay? Like, we got that clear. So I don't want to replicate them. And it's the same with a situation like Meta and Facebook. Again, I don't know these people. So I don't have an obligation to want any closure. I want to even really know them again. There's just no point. So it just leads back to that again and again. And it sucks. But again, that's reality. People have to realise this is what fucking happens. Literally, people just go offline one day, and it's because it's the internet. It's not real life. Where if it was someone you know, again, it's boring. The second rule, if you don't know them, then it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. And there are probably plenty of strangers on there who I knew who actually probably did go missing in real life. You never know. But that's not really my situation. I don't know them personally. Because I'm concerned. But an AI isn't going to bring that back. It isn't going to bring that person back. You know, one of these other things is that you're just going to make people lose friends as well, because they'll start suspecting them of AI. This is the other consequence. People start to suspect someone you know of being offline for quite a few years, suddenly messaging you out of the blue, and you'll start suspecting them of being AI because, well, they shouldn't be back to life or online, rather. They should be obviously offline, and some of them may be genuine, and that's the problem. The genuine cases may even just be outright, I don't know, shambles at the time, or just outcasts, just thrown aside. So that's another consequence we'll see of that. If I found out that this guy that I contacted a while ago on a sort of dating app, kind of, quite a while ago, it's over a year ago now, I suddenly come back, he seemed decent enough. I had a call with him actually, so he's actually real. But he just randomly ghosted me out of nowhere, and I just don't know what happened. It could be a social media break. You never fucking know. But I don't want to hear back from him. I wasn't good enough for his time, so it seemed like it wasn't really an option for me. It seemed like we wouldn't get along, so that didn't work, which sucks. A potential partner, and yeah, it just didn't really work out. So it happens. What else is there to this? I don't really know. It's kind of the gist of it. This AI discussion, AI persons. Like, even more frequently as well, I saw a video on Reddit of all places. It was like a mildly infuriating post. There's like this AI bot doing like, a complete fucking robot doing all the cleaning. It's not necessarily AI, but it's like it's doing the same amount of precision that I guess someone with OCD would do. Like cleaning every fucking spot on this toilet area. It's just absolutely insane. But there's a reason why people don't replace those jobs. They're dirty, and not many people want to do them. You know, there's benefits to doing it. It's a bit of exercise, I'm pretty sure of that. And also you just do a good job anyway. And even then you just cut corners and then you get it done quicker. Especially if you're like on a, I don't know, like an hourly contract sort of thing. It depends. But yeah, like, there's reasons why people do the jobs. That's because it earns money, it earns experience. And believe it or not, experience points are real. You level up. So yeah, I think it's very interesting. Yeah, I don't really have anything else around here, but that's the main process discussion, I think. You know, also the other thing with like AI people is that they could probably fake talent as well. That's the other issue. Because we've also got the AI generation, obviously, and it's dystopian as fuck, as we know. But that also probably comes with a caveat. If you know someone being replicated, or you know having that closure and stuff, and then suddenly being able to learn guitar, even though they never used to play. It's like, oh, I don't know what's going on there. It's all sorts of fucked up, as usual. There's nothing surprising about AI anymore. You know, at this point it's not even too dystopian to even suggest you get like AI children. Again, like, referencing Detroit Become Human, where they already did that, by the way. It was quite a shocking reveal in that game. It's going to become a reality, and then, you know, you've probably incentivized one of the worst things you could possibly do for, like, humanity and for children, for that matter. It's just, it breaches so many borders of morality and concern. It's just, it's all clusterfuck. This is what people are warning about. So it's just, it doesn't really help things at all. So again, the sooner we get rid of AI, the better the world will be. It's as simple as that. It sucks, but that's the reality. Even though there are genuine uses for AI. But every AI is a bad AI. That's the problem. There is no excuses. And when people make excuses again, like I said, like the people saying, like a flock of seagulls or something, just, I don't know, pack or cult, saying it's inevitable. You brought this on yourself. Well done. You brought AI children into the world. They're probably going to be sex workers as well. That's going to happen. It's your fault. So fuck you all. So there may be something I technically agree with well, what people are saying about migrant hotels being irrational, and it's something I gave a bit of thought to earlier, because it sort of came up again. And the conclusion I made was simply there is a case where people within our own country should be prioritised, and yes, we should be mad about that. Because I get the narrative where people think obviously migrants are going into hotels and getting not necessarily luxury. This is the thing a lot of people get wrong. It's not luxury, it's essentials. And a lot of people don't even want to live there, is what a lot of the workers and migrants are actually saying. Which is important to the narrative anyway, but the point is, what people are certainly getting wrong here is, again, that, but wait, that wasn't what I was talking about. Fuck, I lost my place. I know, like, it's just, the thing with migrants is there should be a priority system, and while we are funneling money into it, admittedly a small amount for GDP, I think it's like something like 0.5% or something. It's like crazy. It's not even a massive amount, but for some reason it's an issue to some people, and it's not. So yeah, I guess it is the thing that people are getting wrong. It's always existed. The system has been around for quite a few years. In fact, it dates back as far as, I believe, 2014. I found a video on this. There's like a video about how to get a migrant application, or what the process is essentially. And yeah, like, here's the thing that I definitely agree with the people who are against migrant hotels. It's the fact that people in poverty in the UK, especially, there should never be people in poverty. You know, if we're funneling money into this, why the fuck are we funneling money into the poverty system where obviously people are there, they're stuck there? Why isn't there something like housing first, which is a big thing that we actually need in the UK? Because it is applicable to a lot of systems with corporates and stuff. And one of the biggest systems we need is housing first. I could be wrong on this, but the countries that I've seen it, at least shown in the video I saw of it in, it literally showed them as being extremely helpful to a lot of people, and even the residents agreed, the workers agreed. There was a lot to that. And, you know, we should be putting money into something like this. It's a no-brainer. So I do think it's disappointing, the fact that that doesn't seem to be happening in the slightest. And it is quite sad, to be honest. You know, I just don't understand how people don't see this. But then we should be also looking at the people who take priority over people in the UK. So people, obviously, UK citizenship, you know, usual stuff. And I think the only people who meet that criteria are immigrants from a war zone. That's it. I don't really think there's many other situations. I think if you've been condemned in your own country, as long as you're not being sort of persecuted or given a death penalty for that sort of thing, you know, there isn't really many reasons to migrate. Because these countries have their own issues as well, the ones that you migrate to. So it's not really any better. And I think in those cases, yeah, send them back. I'm not even fucking joking. I'm serious about this. Like, you literally are not in a worse off situation than the other place, and it might be smaller things in between. You know, I'm not talking about women's rights. That is a cause for concern, and obviously a way for, well, a way that people should migrate anyway. But, you know, it's not hard to figure out. And I think it is important to mention this, again, as someone who has been essentially pro-migrant. I wasn't always, believe it or not. And I struggle to find reasons to be anti-migrant at this point. But there are cases where there are things we need to factor in to get the correct answer, to do the right thing. And this is like stupidly important, because guess what? migrants are helpful to the country. They are what brought us some great things in life and help us out. You know, there are doctors, there are taxi drivers even, I've met one. There are so many different types of people who have migrated to the UK, and without them, without even the cultures as well, like talking about food mainly, but there are other things as well, like religion, which has been overall positive for society in general, because a lot of people misunderstand it. That's the problem. So it's never actually about religion, it's just a misunderstandings of it. You know, that's just it. And that's essentially what I've come to conclude in this. So yeah, like migrants are not the fucking issue. Anything is the system. So when people are going to migrant hotels, they're actually doing the wrong thing here. It's in fact harmful to not just your own narrative, but your entire point. Because it's not motivated by the correct decision making, it's not motivated by empathy, it's not motivated by kindness. It's instead a hatred or a want for violence, which for some reason is quite common now. And that's not going to help anyone. That's going to make them worse. All this bullshit about protecting women and children, you can't even protect them. There's just, there's so much hypocrisy here. There's no fucking way. And I can't take people seriously when they say that. Because it's literally a topic they don't take seriously. I take it seriously. Or at least people could do is take it, my words, seriously. Yeah, I was not doing this, so you know what gives. We're trying our hardest as well, and it sort of reminds me of this other thing as well. Trying to think about what I realised in this. Like talking about people from the UK, there are apparently a lot of problems with like shoplifters and stuff. And I talked about this a while ago, but I didn't exactly reach the best conclusion. I just still think it's morally wrong. That's what I realised in that. But the reason it exists to begin with is because people are not realising that the bigger problem in our country happens to be the people with the money, with all the money. And we're not talking about the people in migrant hotels, we're actually talking about the 1%, fucking millionaires and billionaires who need to be taxed, who need to be giving money into the system for people to live. And that's why it's so important. And one of the things I realised in that, hopefully I can fucking remember it before I get to the conclusion here, is that I guess we're all struggling. That's one of the things. We do literally need to find a way out of it, essentially. There's no such thing as things being affordable and us just being greedy. It's just false really. There's a lot of panic. But it's still human at the end of the day, and that's one of the most important things. I think the moment you remove that from someone, you just fail the argument, you've lost. The same with migrants. Like, you literally cannot be talking about someone as if they're an object, as if they're worthy of death just because of who they're born as or where they came from. Like, even niche cases, I guess, some nuance, even. There's sometimes a case where even the violent ones just don't deserve the shit that's getting handed to them. It just doesn't work, and this is what I mean with just being understanding and caring instead. That's why I've never been able to get on board with anti-immigration. It just doesn't work as a narrative because it's not even a narrative, it's just hatred. That's the other thing I've realised as well. It's like people propping up these things like United Kingdom or Tommy Robinson, who are causing all these problems in the world and just not even getting any consequences for it. But the people who are actually racist have hijacked it, and the people who genuinely want to see change with regards to immigration literally don't get a voice because, again, racists have hijacked it, and the problem is you can't disassociate from it either. So it's like no discussion or nothing to take seriously there because of that. Because there are people who are discriminative of people's skin colour or obviously country of, I'll say origin, but birthplace, technically speaking, is the right term. Yeah. It's like, I don't know if this is the thing I thought about, I'm just going to go on a wing and say, I'm pretty sure the thing I thought of earlier was, if a billionaire couldn't do your job, then they shouldn't be getting the money. It's as simple as that. You know, the importance of calling out this bullshit is just so important to protecting us, to protecting people, getting the right answer in life. Calling out billionaires for it is a must. Like, it has to be. That's why I think that's so important. Because these people are ruining the country. Not migrants, you need to actually be doing research, and actually I think that was it. You need to be absolutely certain in these things to make a point of it. Because otherwise it's just going to fail, you're just going to lose the argument, you're going to appear like an idiot. It's just so bad. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say. I've got stuff to do, unfortunately. There's probably more stuff to do. It's really fucking annoying. Yeah, let's move on. So there is another thing I've realised about the Migrant Hotel. Sorry for the noise, I can't do anything about that. Fucking, it's my breakfast. I can't move yet. There's another thing I've realised about migrant hotels and the criticisms around it. Basically, people criticise it for being too accommodating, and there's often this image that people make in their heads that a migrant hotel is luxurious, but the reality is it's not. If you've ever looked in them and ever worked in them, you'd see it's not the case, and in fact most don't even want to live there because it's not very good. I think there's like the same problems that you have in a set of flats or apartments for anyone not British in it. But yeah, it's not luxurious compared to what people say it is. And the name hotel implies that there is a sense of luxury, but it's actually not. In fact, it's usually just hotels repurposed for the care of obviously immigrants and people who are trying to get UK citizenship. But that's essentially the point. You know, they're not there to get freebies constantly, which again is another image that people forge. A lot of this is often backed up with research. Again, the images that people make are not, they're completely false. And when you actually look into it, it's the same, yeah. Like, you literally can't find these quote-unquote images that people made up. But the other thing I have to mention is the reason that they have phones and clothing for that matter, and even just food. The thing is, phones aren't always expensive. I don't know why people don't realise this, but depending on like the model, it usually isn't that expensive, and usually you can get them refurbished, which comes cheaper than if they were, obviously, RSP. Is it RSP? I can't remember the actual retail selling price. Yeah, it has to be. You know, it's not always that simple. And the reason they have phones to begin with is because they are an essential part of life now. You know, you boomers thinking, oh, well, we didn't have phones back in our day, and we got around just fine. Look, times have fucking changed, and we're being shoehorned into things we don't want to. You know, even myself, I don't really like it. You know, we're being forced to use phones for the internet, to access doctor's appointments and details, and it's just not great. Like, I know back in the day you used to probably just get a phone call whenever you were available. And nowadays it's like, you just get an email, and it is more convenient, admittedly, but it isn't to everyone's taste, and that I can agree with. But at the same time, you have to get with the trend or get lost, because those are the only two ways you're going from it. And that's the unfortunate reality for older people. You know, it's literally the only way it will work. And it's not really our problem, it's not really the newer generation's problem to deal with that. So yeah, again, where people get this idea that migrants live in luxury whilst others live in poverty is just completely false, because those living in poverty are earning far more than migrants usually. And it's because migrants have to take on multiple jobs on top of their basic income, I'm pretty sure of that. That part I didn't actually research, but I'm not pretty sure there is sort of two things going on at once there. So it's not even a case of them being lazy or just taking jobs or just being a nuisance. It's literally hard work and dedication. Something that a lot of people do not fucking have. And oftentimes when we're blaming immigrants for taking jobs, well, look at the generations we have now. Like, they're not taking the jobs. Why? Because of the pay. Nobody wants that low of a fucking pay. It's such a joke of a pay gap, the salary rather, that nobody wants it. And even someone like myself, who is getting below minimum wage in terms of free spending anyway, as other costs are fairly covered, I'd say. Yeah, it's just, there's so much bullshit in this, and just gets me thinking, like, what the fuck are people thinking? Literally. Why is there this hyperfixation on this? The reason people don't want jobs is because they're not being paid enough, and they're not being paid enough because, guess what? It's not immigrants, it's billionaires. The people raking all the money that they do not need, that they could be spending on others, is fucking everyone over. So yeah, like, a job. Literally, that's the situation. Like, immigrants have nothing to do with it. So stop being fucking ridiculous, please. Because it is literally all linked back to immigrants. And that's it. That's all this, like, it's all about fucking billionaires, not immigrants. I can't remember if I misspoke there, bloody short-term memory loss moment there. Yeah, like, literally, people need to listen, because this is important. And that's why I bring this up. There are literally cases where it isn't always the fault of others, necessarily. And everyone's quick to blame someone for these problems, but that isn't always as simple. It's not always a reality. So yeah, I don't really think there's much else to say on that. You know, that's the gist of it. It's just frustrating scenarios. Plenty. Yeah, that's about it. So, be prepared in a series of videos where I just complain about bullshit in this. Feels a bit necessary at this point, because I'm just so tired of it. It's so fucking annoying. Even just, what is this? 222 gems in, technically 300, not 300. 190. But man, there's so many fucking problems with fate farming in Final Fantasy XIV. And for me, it's such a big problem that it does feel like it needs a rework, and I'm not specifically just talking about just you know the fact that fates are very rewarding. I'm also talking about the fact that the rewards you get from doing them by again grinding it out are not efficient, and in fact are so bullshit they're often not worth doing. And even though I'm doing it, because I have a fucking desire to, I don't really understand why it's even a thing. Um, what the fuck that was? I don't know what that was. It's like behind me making noise, and for some reason people in the kitchen making noise. Fucking get it. No silence. Um, yeah, so that's the pause while distraction fucked off because it's too much. I thought I actually sussed out the facts. I thought I sussed out where that was coming from. Closing the door, seeing where the light came in, but no. Didn't seem to be that, which is interesting. That's interesting. So make a video about fates. Forlorn maiden is just there in its glory. Huh. Never seen that before. That is strange. Okay, yeah, I'll start because I made a notepad in the time that I started talking about this, and it's kind of important. Let's be honest, as much as I love Final Fantasy XIV, it's going to have shit aspects because of where the game has so many mechanics and systems, and it's to its benefit and its detriment. Plus, it is good to have a game with this many things going on. It isn't always the best thing. And honestly, I think they could do with taking steps back from some of these. In fact, there's like, what, 5 or 6 different types of content here, like PvP, raids, trolls, dungeons, some reason guild tests. And with that, which combines them all, except for guild tests for some reason. Wait, no, guild tests is part of it, but yeah. It's such a strange scenario. And I find there's a lot of things I dislike about the Fate system. I know I had a lot of issues with Occult Prison, and having gone to it later to grind out the, what was it? The Demetori? I think it was. For the relic weapons, yeah, it must have been, because I was trying to do that as quickly as possible. But, that was painful enough because of the essentially grind to win advantage, where people have basically false amounts, and that means they get to face quicker, and that means they kill it quicker as well. Because you can't get to it. Like, great. And this is the thing with Final Fantasy players, the thing that nobody tells you. There seems to be a lot of selfish ones out there. And even though you do get the odd kind ones, which I do appreciate, they do exist, I've met them, you get those that just do things extremely selfishly, and those fates are no different. But I'm talking about the overworld fates rather than Cop Crescent, and the issues in Cop Crescent are quite obvious. But these normal world fates are different. Or overworld, I don't know what you call it actually. Because everything's not really yours here, you can't call it yours anyway. First problem for me is one I experienced when I first got to Shadowbringers and started leveling up with that, because I was curious what the hell these were about, because I never actually touched them. So I did, and I did it for a bit of leveling, and it just took ages. It really wasn't fucking helpful. Like, gee, thanks, game, that's really great that you're helping me level 1% at a time. Fuck me, it's so stupid. Better off. It'd be better off doing like repetitive duty roulets. So yeah, that sucked. But the main problem is that the Guild XP rewards are bad. but the gemstones are as well. And I think this can really help incentivize players to do more fate farming, in all honesty. I think doing this instead of leveling roulette would be great in some ways, but I think also bad. It's kind of hard to balance. I think obviously keeping the bonuses for like first times, but you should do the same for fates. You know, maybe for like the first 5 in a day you do, you can get a drastic increase to XP and gil. You know, it incentivizes consistent farming and stuff, and players would make groups to do it. And they could even do like queuing for dungeons and shit. You know, there's many ways that this can just help. So I don't understand why they don't have a system like this. But as for gemstones, the problem is, depending on what it is you're farming for, it can take ages. You know, 10 can get you 160 gemstones. How much does a minion cost? 600 in the current patch, or for Dawn Trail anyway. So, it's not even very fucking optimal from that get-go. It takes almost like 35 fates, if you're unlucky that is, to get a single fucking minion. Like, what the hell are you thinking? If you're lucky, it'll take about 20 or 25. But it's so poor of a system that you just really can't grind it out properly or reliably. So yeah, it's not good. So what's the next thing I was going to talk about? So not my bad gameplay, because I'll explain why I'm AFKing and stuff. Just mind-numbing shit. Yeah, that's the guild XP system, which is bad. The next thing is the content gets very repetitive. I noticed this back in Shadowbringers and don't remove the Shared Fate thing. But that's the other thing, fuck. Shared Fates are stupid, might as well get that out of the way. Stop locking things behind this shit. It's simple. I just don't like the fact that this is a system. Because I could have used these gemstones for like vouchers and stuff to get them out quicker. But no. For some stupid reason they decided to lock it behind all world shared rank 4. Like, why the fuck are you doing that? Terrible system. Remove it. Simple. Problem solved. It's like creating a solution to a problem. It's not even incentivizing players to fucking play it. Let's be honest. Yeah, if anything, when it's that steep of a amount of fates to grind, you're not going to get players doing it. For being honest. So what's the next thing? Yeah, the content gets repetitive. I was explaining that. After a while, you just get to know the content. Like, for example, I'm doing this fate here. Oh, just got to level sync. This is another annoying thing. The level sync needs to be fucking fixed because I hate having to manually adjust it. You know, I've got a macro. The macro doesn't always work, so that is shit. Like, good job. I had to fuck up a system. That's not the button I clicked. Yeah, content gets very repetitive. I just find that it's boring after a while, and there's not a case of the mechanics not being interesting. There are definitely fates where the mechanics are good or interesting, but they don't need to be complicated. That's the problem. You've created a system where you're sort of encouraging players to find balance, but in the end they're just hating it. And they're trying to find ways to get around it, which I'll explain later. You'll see why I'm playing this rather than any other DPS role. There's so many fucking issues here with that. So content getting repetitive is also a problem, but it's hard to address. The only reason it's a problem, though, just to mention, is because it's grindy. Yeah, spoiler. But it's because it's so grindy that it is repetitive. That's why it doesn't feel normal. And it just feels like more unnecessary and tedious work. More so than it needs to be. Like, you know it's getting repetitive when you just know when there's a double fate. And yeah, that's sort of an issue. You also don't really know it's a double fate, just wish they had label it in some way. That's the other thing. So the next problem is a very common one, I think, and it just frustrates me on a daily basis. I've started doing this again. 190 vouchers, I bought some of them. And it has to be said that the way that fates are spread out and with different, not necessarily different timings, but so spread out that anyone just does them wherever they are and don't check. It's completely fucked. And because players are so spread out by that, you end up with bizarre cases where bonuses or doubles get nicked, or, as you British term, nicked, stolen, and they get done before you can even get there. And that creates a lot of divide and also just toxicity in players, I've no doubt. Those systems that it does that to someone. There's been times I've wanted to type in the fucking say chat and just say like, stop being idiots. Like, please fucking look at the map. So yeah, and this is the thing as well. Because people say like, go in a group, make a group. In one, by the way. And there are players that are not even in a group farming this as well. This has happened a lot of times, and even then, they still spread out. So there is no shot that this really works, and also just the level sync system. Just it's so badly designed. The level sync. I mean, like the fact that I have to manage just again, but the fact that you can't be like level 100 here is ridiculous. Like, why am I synced to 95? Not only is that unusual for your rotations, it's just unusual in terms of gameplay as well. Because it's just going to fuck it up a bit. Maybe it's not the most game breaking, or rather rotation breaking element there. It's still a problem. And that causes issues. Like, I want to play as a level 100, not fucking level 95. So instead of syncing it to a lower level, just sync it to your current level. And do damage based on that. So it's like, oh, you do damage but it's a bit lower with that level, because obviously level sync, item level sync, fixes that. It says it's synced, it's like, look. Doesn't display it for some reason, but yeah, like, I'm assuming it is synced because it's saying it. And that's my gear. You can see how casual I am, but historic gear. So yeah, again, massive problem. So that needs to be fixed. I think the only way to fix players being spread out is if you sort of, I guess, don't spread them out. Like, you put fates close together. This way players can adjust if they need to. Also, like, fix some bugs as well. Like, when enemies run away, for some reason, if you have a door on them, it'll constantly tick. It's fucking dumb. But really we need a way to just anti-spread. That's a thing. I don't know if it maybe involves fates being harder for a solo player. Or what. I don't really know what the solution is here, because this is the kind of problem they've made, where it matters that players spread because you get affected by it. Like this bonus fate here that we're having to go to, which everyone else will go to because that's the mindset instead of the fate that's the shortest time. That's causing issues. Although it's the shortest technically. But nobody follows that. Nobody looks and says, oh, shortest time, better do that first so it doesn't despawn. No, they ignore it completely. So it's just dumb. But this ties into another thing. Players are extremely stupid. Like, I fucking hate when we have to point this out. But it is literally true. I think of all the games I played, including something like Team Fortress 2, which is different, but hear me out. There has never been stupider players than Final Fantasy XIV players. Again, I keep saying, because they're all genuinely good and smart players here. There's a healer pulled me out a mechanic earlier where I was AFK, which is great. Yeah, the healer is paying attention. But you know, you don't always get that. But this isn't about the gameplay mechanics. It's also just about etiquette and what players are doing in general. Like someone's farming this one over here. Whenever you're not doing the bonus one, someone's going over here and doing that. Probably because of pace farm, but you know, stupid mechanics just lead to stupid people, I think. I think that's generally what I've learned. That nobody actually thinks before they act in this. It's just absolute absurdity. So what else was I going to put here? Nobody else has played the roles yet, but it became very apparent. Because this came with like my realization of better farming being to do with basically in an area of attack situation where enemies are spread out. It's more important that you get them all together as quickly as possible so you can kill them all faster. Just essentially like a suction or a vacuum. You suck them all into one place, and you do it by having mechanics that are just strong. You know, there's nothing to it really. But my solution was Astrologian and Dancer, who, from what I could tell from the text anyway, have the biggest area of effects, radiuses and ranges that there are. You know, 20 yards range is pretty insane on an area of effects, but 25 as well, with like the Crown of Falls figures. King of Falls, I can't remember what this one's called. But that's like really important. That pulls things, and then you got macrocosmosis. Cosmos, I mean, which has like 20-yard range, which is still big. And Sage has one too, similar. But you know, that's such a big range that you can just pull everything in that distance. And 40 arms is actually quite big if you think about it. Because it's like 20 arms circumference, and you know, it's like from that cliff edge to the tree, literally, maybe a bit bigger. And I can literally show it off, and there's a bonus there. Nice. It's almost there. Although this image is shit. Like, you can't tell where it's going to hit until you've actually placed it with enough. So there's also some like visual indication issues. So yeah, I just don't like that. But players are just dumb. But this isn't the only problem. It's not just like mechanically with classes and stuff. You also find it with, for example, the things that appear, like the Forlorn Maidens and the Forlorn. And these fucking frustrate me. They give me serious anxiety sometimes. The Maiden not so much, because it's faster to kill. But the Forlorn, I think of all the times I've encountered, there's probably only a handful of times at this point. Say like 8 or 9 times in the about 7 days I've been farming this. I think 7 days anyway. Could be wrong. I've only seen about 7 or 8. And it's been so frustrating because of the amount of health they have. And then you do something like this where it's like group everything together, kill them as fast as possible. And you get punished for it with a Forlorn, and it's like you can't kill that quickly because nobody dismisses a chocobo or uses different stances like I do. And nobody bothers to look as well. So you have to label it. I've got my label here because this is the one I'm farming on. Astrologian. It's like nobody pays attention. So you have to make an effort to find this shit. But it's like, yeah. Fucking goofy goblin guy. Yeah, just extreme frustration consistently. And there's another thing as well. What's the other thing? Even ignore fate. Yeah, this one. They ignore fate progress. Why isn't guy pulling them all down there? Oh, I hear that. It's weird. The leash. Hello. Again, this is what I mean. Players do not understand the mechanics. They're fucking leashing and don't even notice. It's just dumb and we can't even group them. Who's this guy? Just doing weird shit. And also in like a fate like this, you need 66% progress to spawn a Forlorn if it does. So the collection fates are just broken. And also nobody understands it. It's so bad. So I'll put behind stuff in a sec. My interaction keys, barely enough as usual. Let's do another big pull. So yeah, fate progress is a big issue as well, as I said. So for example, like, oh, there's no fate there. There's no progress in it. Pretend there is. Nobody takes note of it. I notice when there's like 2 or 3% above, it means that there is a fate in progress. So that means like even boss ones where there's an NPC attacking it, it's even more true there. So you have to pay attention to that. You have to realise that there is actually someone there. Yeah. Go no, okay. Yeah, like nobody pays attention, and it just ends up disruptive. As I said, fates spread out. And, yeah, I'm still on like a double fail site, and someone that came like earlier is over here doing something else. I don't get it. It just seems like it's designed to make you toxic. Something to make you fucking frustrated because it's such a bad system. If anything, it should be one fate at a time. That's probably the solution. Stop spawning these together because this causes confusion. Start putting them in order so you go around the map. Simple. Make it like a story. Less repetitive. Less reliant on players being there. You know, RNG players basically. It's just far more beneficial. So I've just solved the problem. But then we get on to another bizarre issue, which is bot fate farming. And I've only encountered this a few times. I think the first time was when I started my shared fate grind in a poacher, can't even pronounce it anymore. There was one spamming, I think, Tomahawk, playing Warrior. Obviously, I've got everyone at level 100, so one. Just do it here. You know, I played everything, I've done everything. And yeah, just spamming Tomahawk constantly. Not even doing much damage. Like, it just seemed pretty pointless, in my opinion. And the other thing that was really worrying was there were right fates. You know, there'd be like for example, a fate on the path, on the way to where you were going, and this bot would ignore every single fate that wasn't a enemy fate. So gathering fates were out of the question. And I could be wrong, it could be a macro I didn't consider until like a few days ago, but even then it just feels wrong. Not sure what the rules are, like a macro that spams attacks. Like, is that bad behaviour or is it good? But at this point I don't care if it comes to fates. It's just so grindy. I wouldn't even rat someone out for that, but still. I get concerned that I'm witnessing bot behaviour just as a result of seeing somebody just playing the game in a very, for lack of a better term, brain dead way. It does seem it's very prevalent still because of also the cost of these. Like, each gemstone here costs 130,000 gil. Like, crazy enough, if I were to fucking sell some of these, I would get like half the fucking gold mounts out there. It's just nuts. And what, 130,000 times 100 is obviously, God, I can't math. It's extra 2 zeros, so It's like 13 million, I think. So it almost gets me there. It's just an insane number. It might actually be more. I don't know, but I'm not really willing to give it up. I don't want these gold mounts. There's an entire opinion piece I can make on like gold and mounts and reskin mounts. But it's just, yeah, it's just meh, really. I don't really have much want for those, but anyway, buying situation bands. But we get on to boss fights, and I've only done a few of these. I think I tried the Fox one a while ago, and it dies in seconds. It's weird, but you just throw your axe in it, whatever you're using, and just wait for it to die. That's all that happens. But also like Stormblood, it's obviously not that relevant. So I can't think of a Shadowbringers one. Oh yeah, I have done Shadowbringers. Yeah, I remember there was one in the Tempest. People probably know what I'm talking about. It knocks you off the edge. It gets really annoying because if you don't understand the mechanics, it's really frustrating. First times anyway, and it's just unfair. But they're just pure garbage for mechanics alone, but they're also bad for rewards. They're not worth it usually. You're better off just hitting it a few times, leaving, and AFK. So you get the reward for like the items, and you get a few gemstones for it. It's so fucking weird. I just don't get why some of these are a thing, because it's just like boss things are garbage. I truly do not understand what the point of them is. But the worst thing by far for me is just the amount of HP they have. It just doesn't make sense. Because the HP is an issue in itself, but it shouldn't be that high. Like, come on. It just doesn't make sense. It's just way too high for what it is. I remember doing this Serpent Snake recently, and I did Mika ages ago. I actually completed that, by the way. For some reason we couldn't beat Serpent Lord, but it's because mechanics are going stupidly hard. Even for an experienced player like me, I still went down once at that. It's still hard to figure out the mechanics, and also there's like a bug with it as well, where they can hit you at its base, so if you're a melee, you're fucked. You can't actually play melee against it. It's a weird bug. I don't know why that's in the game. So you get vuln stacks for no reason. But yeah, that's shit. Not worth doing. And frankly, a waste of time compared to, well, the alternative here, which is like a minute or two per fate. Compared to 15 minutes to kill a boss with 8 players. Yeah, you could probably see the problem there. So the last thing, this goes back to see what I've said about just not really finding fates enjoyable, just being repetitive. But it's mind-numbing. All of this altogether makes it a nine-money process. Sure, let's go with that. One today. It just makes it so frustrating and boring. Like for example, this, like, I'm already bored. Okay, it's a boss, it has a few mechanics. I just want to fucking AFK now. Leave the dots up and wait until it dies. Even with this boss here. It's like a mini boss, not an actual boss, but you know. Similar, for sure. But I just don't like doing this. This is why AFK, you see the screen going from, you know, high FPS to low FPS. That's because I have a system where, yeah, you know, it's in the settings actually, but when you alt tab, you can lower the FPS so the game doesn't use as many resources from it. Oh my fucking god. It's just frustrating as hell. I just don't want to do this, and I just alt-tab in the end. I'll let someone else do the fucking killing, because it's good for rotations, it's good for learning, for sure. If you're looking for a reliable way to quickly learn a spec without actually going into a dungeon or a raid, just spamming it there. This is a good way to do it too. You get a mix of both. Get your single targets and you get your multi-targets, and it does work, believe it or not. It gives you a good experience, and it's just like a dungeon. It's just, dungeons are everywhere. Dungeons are in my sleep. They're in my walls. Please save my balls. I don't know where I was going with that. Yeah, I can only hope the fake grind changes in this game. It's just my opinion. It might be enjoyable to some, but to me it's just not. Things I'd rather be doing, and it's taken up so much time from my hobbies as well, because I have to sort of focus on both at once to get anywhere, to make this grind even somewhat bearable, and to even just prepare before the next patch. It's the other thing, it's like you're on a race against time when you're committing to one of these. It's one thing I noticed right away. It's just so frustrating. And again, I've got the hobbies I want to do, and then I've got my time to dedicate to the game, which doesn't exist at the moment because I have to do this mind-numbingly. But the time I'd use would always be done doing like hard mount farming or relic weapon grinding, which is technically a priority at that point, but I decided to put it on hold just to get this done for the next variant dungeon. Or is it deep dungeon? I can't. Is it? No, it's a variant dungeon, yeah. Variant, because multiple ways, yeah. Of course. I'm actually really looking forward to 4.5's variant dungeon. Looks very promising to me. I love visually a lot of the things in this game. What's going on? I'm not pressing duty finder. Why did that happen? Not even fat finger, it's weird. It's like, why is for some reason opening that? Yeah, I don't really know what else to add here, but that's the situation. Again, it's my opinion, just to push the point home. But there are so many problems with fake grinding. It does need a rework, in my opinion, and the rewards need to be a lot better. And also just increase the gemstone cap, like increase the gemstone rewards, increase the gemstone cap, problem solved. You got it. And that's it, that's all that needs to happen. Everything else can just be sort of, not dismissed, but could be more under control. I'll say like triple everything, and that's probably good, except for the XP and gil, which needs a lot more. Yeah, that's my opinion, so let's move on from something. It's not really a podcast, but I don't know, maybe it will. Yeah, I think it will. So, I do suppose this is a topic I need to talk about. Let's start with, because I got to start with about having the power. I saw a Bold Politics podcast recently where Zach Balansky was interviewing I think MP or some council person, I can't remember. I can't even remember her name. Damn it. But she had some interesting insights and stuff, and one of the most interesting parts to me was the fact that she said that people need to stop relying on the power to make the changes, and Jesus Christ, I could not put that better myself. Sorry about that. But it's just so strongly worded, and so powerful the wording. I do see this being a reality, essentially. We do have the power to change things, believe it or not, as human beings, as lesser beings in the, well, billionaire's paradise, it seems, but, we have the power. And that's one of the points that's been hammered home since we've discovered democracy. And the only way we make change is by using this power that we have, by the way, to make the change. To make sure we're living in a world that's nice for people, that's certainly worthwhile to live in. And that's really important. I can't stress enough how important that is. We literally need it. So, when this MP was saying about power, the fictions are talking about how billionaires essentially have, like, screwed up the world a lot, and this is the main reason that we need power. Need people to take back power over. And we can't always do everything all at once, but we can certainly try to do our best. And this, I'd argue, is very important. We need to make changes, we need to do things properly. And without that, we just fucking suck. We fail as human beings, we fail as humanity. It's just not great. Speaking of power, excuse the clicking noises, because fucking nails like grow, I swear, like an inch every fucking week. I don't know what's going on with that. I cut them short so that it's not bothering me. You know, when I actually like feel my nails, you know, I'll just clip them like that. It's just the only way I can deal with it. Yeah, anyway, back to the topic and power. It is in people's hands, and it reminded me of all these discussions around things like AI regulation and even something like animal rights, and even environment actually, like climate change and health. But this is where you have to realise that this is more true than ever. Nowadays, billionaires and all that are completely willing to fuck over everything on the planet, every living being, every person, every fucking thing that's ever existed for the sake of profits. And this is a massive issue. It seriously is. Because in reality, we can't survive this. That's the whole truth of it. There is no surviving a situation like this where we allow the quote-unquote power, which is the billionaires at the moment, to walk all over us and say we don't have power. That's killing us. That's killing the planet. That's doing so much harm that is just genuinely... It leaves me in disbelief, and excuse the breathing because I think I've got COVID. COVID, which is fucking great. What a fucking frustration it is to just exist in this timeline with all this bullshit around us. It doesn't add up in the slightest. You know, I'm tired of it. I want change. I want to see good in the world. I want to do good for the world. And not many people are willing to do that, so, well, guess what? We're all kind of fucked. It's so frustrating. So, I don't really know the best way to address it, but all I know is you should never underestimate power. Never. I literally had a fucking dream about, for some reason, the police come around and it's like they're trying to get in. I didn't realise in the dream, obviously because I was stupid, but thinking about it, they don't have the authority to be in here. You know, I have the power to tell them no, they need a warrant, because yes, they actually do need that. But also, I could just not let them in by force. That's the thing. They think because they've got all the equipment that they can actually overcome anything that's in their way. But then you have to realise the consequences of those actions. To beat someone down who isn't even hurting you, which is a lot of what Americans do, for some reason, American police and, you know, ICE. But, you know, that's the fucking issue. It's when people have this quote-unquote power, which isn't, by the way, just having weapons isn't power. It's knowledge. It's understanding. Until you have those, you don't actually have any true power. something I realised in my long time of just thinking in my own headspace about how to achieve the most peaceful outcomes possible was that exact thing. So true power actually comes at a cost, but it comes at the cost of potentially wasting your time and trying to figure out everything that's around you, trying to make the most peaceful plan you can. In a sense, if it's worst comes to worst, like the most violent plan that you could think of. Especially if you're not, we're in a day and age where that might even be necessary. You never know with what's happening between like countries with war. There's always that possibility that one day you could just get a knock or a rude awakening from, I don't know, say a Russian tank. Even that's quite unlikely, but still could happen. Could find like people with guns roaming the streets suddenly. There's like so many horrific things that can happen. But at the end of the day, all these actions they do have consequences. There's no such thing as dying in vain. It's quite a pointless thing to bring up. Like, because literally, dying in vain implies that you did something for nothing. And that's not what's happening. When people do die for these sort of causes, unfortunately, it's not in vain. Again, this is another one of those things that we look back on in history and it will shape something. Again, that's like the consequence of them doing that. It's the positive of those of us who don't want anything to do with it. So yeah, like, it's quite obvious that it's a thing and it's a big deal to take note of, to fucking focus on. It's just kind of nuts. So yeah, like, I don't really know what's to add, but it's about the gist of it, I think. Anyway, those are my thoughts on this. So yeah, if people want to see what argue about this, sure, go ahead. I'm open for it. And it's not my place to tell people what they can and can't discuss with me. That's the gist of it though. So I'm not really sure what to add, but yeah, that's kind of what's going on. Yeah, I'll move on to the next topic. What's dying, which I'm not sure what to do here because nobody knows what they're doing. Didn't get a tank. Yeah, so let's move on. So, might as well talk about this because of what's going on here. This is a distraction on the start days for some reason. I was to talk about one of my, not really special interests, but interests. And it's kind of one that's personal and special to me because of the fact that I grew up around dogs. It's about dogs. And I've always enjoyed the company of dogs. It's been one of my biggest joys in life. And suddenly, on the other hand, one of the most beautiful aspects of life as well. Other than just seeing the innocence of children and stuff, and baby animals as well. Let's not forget that there are a lot of great things in life that appear, but yeah, it's one of my darkest days, so I might as well explore this a bit instead to light it up. So I start with a cat history first, which sounds bizarre, but hear me out. I was never really that into cats. I like them, but I'm not really a massive fan. I don't know enough about cats to really be like, oh yeah, that's a tabby. I actually don't know what fucking tabby looks like. That's mainly the gist of it. I do have a favourite cat though, I guess. It has to be the hairless cat. It's a lot of people's favourites, and it's probably mine as well. It's just so fucking goofy. I can't get over them. Also, foxes are technically a type of cat, so foxes as well. Yeah. But as for dogs, I think there are quite a few different types of dogs that I've seen in life and enjoyed as well. You know, I grew up around first a Chihuahua hybrid. Someone, it wasn't full Chihuahua. She was a bit of a nuisance, to say the least. It's sad that she went away the way she did. It didn't seem much suffering though, which is good. It's like actually a peaceful death in sleep. You know, it's rare. And, you know, I'm quite glad that that did happen to her. Not obviously because she was a meanie, but because that's what they deserve at the end. And nobody deserves a fucking painful death. But there's also another dog which actually unfortunately got put down because he attacked and killed one of our guinea pigs. Which fucking sucks. Because, yeah, I just got them out one day and he just fucking went for them. That's just nuts. But it seems to be a consistent issue with other dogs, and I won't go into that, but like I say, it doesn't matter how you bring them up, it just seems to be how you act yourself, and yeah, it really varies. Like, you need to be, like, I guess manly in that sense to bring up a dog properly. That sounds difficult, but it is literally true. I think that's the only way you can tame a dog. It's just to be masculine, which is weird, but yes, I think that does work. So dogs, there are others as well. I grew up with a Labrador, Black Labrador for that matter. I got to name him, named him after SpongeBob's pet, because weirdly enough I got to name him. Weirdly enough I actually got to name my first ever half sibling. I don't know how, it was maybe an influence sort of thing, but I won't go into the sibling part because it's more personal, but you know, naming a dog is great. Yeah. Then the other two dogs we had were problematic. They weren't rescues because none of these dogs were rescues, but they were, I guess, a type of hunting dog. I think they were lurchers, if I'm not mistaken. And they were a fucking pain. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Oh, I did not like them. Like, they're funny. They're their gimmicks, they're their personalities, and I definitely love them for that, but my fucking god, they were problematic. They were fluffy, but again, problematic. You know, when they weren't eating your face off, they were, you know, doing other shit. And again, also they're good. And also scared of thunder. Yeah, believe it or not. And also the Labrador, I forgot to mention, he loved fireworks. And he didn't mind thunder, which is kind of funny because most dogs are fucking terrified of any sort of thing like that. It's just fascinating growing up with that. So yeah, after them, and this is really the last dogs to memory because obviously 18 years old, or well, 20 something now. Yeah, like the last few dogs sort of grew up with were, like, really enough, they're all a mix, and one of them I don't even know the species, like, not species, or, you know, the type. So I'll go into the two that I do know. One of them is a sheepdog. It's quite lovely. I remember the day he came, it was a rescue. His mother, unfortunately, she came with him. Like, this is the thing. And this is because there was nowhere else for her to go. So we ended up getting her, and she was acting weird the entire fucking time, and it's really sad, but she ended up having a tick in her head, which essentially killed her. Well, it didn't kill her outright, but you know, she had to be put down because it's causing suffering. It's like really fucking sad. But we obviously have her son to look after now, and yeah, but yeah, he's great. He's so fluffy. He's obviously a herding animal because he tries to take us places and stuff. He's quite adorable. There's no dog like him, I don't think. I've never met a dog like him. Yeah, it's great fun. It's got a very funny personality as well. Funny way of doing things. Gets excited for some reason quite easily. It's just always entertaining. yeah, but then the other dog is a rescue racehound, and I find this dog really interesting as well. I fucking love skinny dogs. I have to say that now, and I'll go into this a bit after. But my god, skinny dogs are just funny, and she was no exception. Being a sort of race dog, not sure what the actual breed is. Like, I can't remember. Like, what was it? I can't remember. It was definitely like a race dog, not a race hound. I don't think. Yeah, she's been great. She's got very weird personality traits, like half aggressive, half scared of everything. So it's kind of weird. And she is mostly obedient and stuff, but she is very funny looking. And I think my comment about her appearance made is probably the best way to describe her. It's like she looks like she's in a diving suit, like literally. Um, yeah, she's great. And then finally we got the dog, which I can't even identify the breed of because he doesn't actually have one. He's like a mix, and there was a DNA test, I think, and there were like so many different types in there. It's like, holy fuck. Like, he's come from so many different dogs, it's actually insane. So that's been slightly confusing. Yeah, I don't know, but then I have to go into my favourite dog breeds, and over the years I've seen many. I've seen like crazier ones, like what's the one with the big heads? I can't remember the name, but unfortunately they don't have very good health, and so don't pugs either. There's a lot of problems like that in dog breeding, which I wish would stop, but some idiots keep thinking it's a good idea. And those people should be arrested and charged for it, essentially. Yeah, and weirdly enough, like my favourite dog species aren't actually healthy either, and it's not because they're healthy, it's because they look like great fun, and they also just look like a species that I could get along with as well. Because my favourite animal is actually the fox, and I suppose like the more fox like someone is, it's probably better, but even then, that's not enough to compare to gimmicky looking animals and breeds of animals for that matter. And the breed of dogs I like are bizarre. So let's start with the probably like second favourite one. Whippets. Whippets are fucking funny. Yeah, I love them. They look funny, they act funny. There's a lot going on with whippets, and they're a species I keep saying species being breed. I just really enjoy. Even though I haven't met any, been around any, I've seen video clips, and it's like, oh my god. But again, there's health complications, which sucks, and obviously it's not worth buying a dog based on breed. It's just, you buy it based on, well, not buy, just adopt really, and adopt, don't shop. But you obviously choose based on their needs and whatever you can handle, essentially. And that's far more important, it's far more fulfilling to yourself and to their life. So yeah, I think that's really the thing with whippets. Yeah, as much as they're fun, that is a problem. Health, it's not good. I can't remember what the complications are specifically. I think they have like small brains, if I'm not mistaken. That's probably what makes them so funny, though. That's the thing. They are quite sweet, though. And then there's the other, like actually a third one. Weirdly enough, bullies, like bully dogs, whatever you call them. So I can't remember what you should call them because there's so many fucking slurs and slang terms for them. These dogs. I've seen a few videos of them online, and they're always very sweet. It's just how people mistreat them. that makes them problematic. And that just goes severely wrong because obviously it backfires and suddenly all the species of breed gets condemned. And it just fucking sucks. Like, Jesus Christ. It's bad, but you know, they're just like any other dog. They're fun to be around. So they can be entertaining. They're great. There isn't much else to say, just look at the video clips. Yeah, they're quite chill as well. That's the other thing that people don't realise that. They think, oh, Bull would bully, whatever, must be aggressive. But it's not. And apparently, like, I swear there was some research on this. Apparently, golden retrievers are far more dangerous in terms of dog attacks because of the jaw lines and stuff. And the bully doesn't even come fucking close to a fucking golden retriever, which is just insane to me. It shows how misinformation spreads and people latch onto anything they can. It's almost like there's like a, I don't know, like misogyny or inceldom towards dogs. I don't know what the equivalent is. Speciesism, maybe? Probably the actual term. Because speciesism means something else, but you know, I call it speciesism because of human supremacy, and that's what's going on here. You know, it's like you think you're better than the dog, and you think they're tearing up relationships. Like, there's just so much wrong with that. It's a lot of discrimination. Yeah. So that leads me into my actual favourite dog, and I love this dog because I love fantasy, and you probably know what I'm talking about based off that. There is no dog like this, and I didn't even know about them for years. Then when I discovered them online through YouTube videos and recommendations, I was like, oh my fucking god. They are incredible. They're so freaky looking, but they are funny. I'm of course talking about you, fucking dog. I'm of course talking about Bullseyes, not you. You'll get a spot at some point. But anyway, Bullseyes are fucking amazing. Yeah, I've seen them described as woodland nymphs. Is that a word? Could be wrong. But like woodland creatures, it's like, and they're like straight out of a fantasy novel or horror movie, and I could see that. You know, how skinny they are, and even like the fur and stuff, they do seem like they came out of a movie or a novel or something. That's what makes them so good. And there's also that famous meme of let me do that for you. It's just animated, I think. It's like a animation of a Bullseye. Yeah, it's so good. So that reminded me, I need to find that. Let me do it for you, dog. Yeah. That's like 8 parts, I didn't realise. Okay. I close down on the things I'm making. Yeah, they're like so long, that's the other thing. Look at this animation. It's so fucking long that they can see everything, find everything. It's just, it's so fucking goofy. That's what makes them so great. Yeah, I fucking love Bullseyes, and the other thing is that they're just really funny. Like, you see them playing around and doing the zoomies and stuff, and they look even funnier. Like, admittedly, we shouldn't love like any species or anyone or breed based on how goofy they look. You know, obviously it's wrong, but I think it's different when you come to taking care of them. But you know, that's what makes them actually special here. That's what makes me fall in love with them. It's like they're special. They have needs as well. And then, like every other dog, you know, great personality. Whenever I see dogs on the street, I'm always like, oh my god, like always staring at them rather than, I don't know, what lady, what man walking them. It's like I can see the bitch didn't take my interest, but the dog did. Wait, what? came out wrong. Or did it? Although that's actually sort of my love of dogs. I'm just more interested in the dogs rather than the humans. That says a lot. I think it's because dogs are so carefree and they don't have much of a filter either, and that's the other thing. It tends to be the case that even with relationships between people, the lack of a filter ends up being a very sort of, I wouldn't say attractive feature, but one that's quite appealing. Because I have met unattractive people without a filter. Well, one of the guys I met online was like that. It's from a dating thing. You know, it's only as good as the respect they have for you, and that's the difference. And while animals don't really always respect you in that sense, they are still innocent. You know, they're not going to show you kindness, but they're there because we chose to have them. Just give them a better life. And you know, that's one of the greatest aspects of having animals, no matter what the species is. That's why I encourage having farm sanctuaries to keep like farm animals there, because there is no world in which exploitation will ever be right. You know, in the case of having dogs, it's still kind of questionable why we have them, and not like pigs or some. Also, micro pigs are abusive, not as in the pigs themselves, but the industry. They sell them by starving them. It's a bunch of horrible shit. But again, this is why you don't base getting animals based on what you want. You get animals based on what they need, what the animal needs, and that's more important. But it's better for you mentally, it's better for the animals. Simple as that. So yeah, not really sure if there's anything else I can add to this, but I've got stuff to do, play games to take my mind off shit. Yeah, that's another discussion, it's a fun one at that. So let's move on. So there is another thing I've realised about the Migrant Hotel, sorry for the noise, I can't do anything about that. Fucking, it's my breakfast, I can't move yet. There's another thing I've realised about migrant hotels and the criticisms around it. Basically, people criticise it for being too accommodating, and there's often this image that people make in their heads that a migrant hotel is luxurious, but the reality is it's not. If you ever looked in them and ever worked in them, you'd see it's not the case, and in fact most don't even want to live there because it's not very good. I think there's like the same problems that you have in a set of flats or apartments for anyone not British in it. But yeah, it's not luxurious compared to what people say it is. And the name hotel implies that there is a sense of luxury, but it's actually not. In fact, it's usually just hotels repurposed for the care of obviously immigrants and people who are trying to get UK citizenship. But that's essentially the point. You know, they're not there to get freebies constantly, which again is another image that people forge. A lot of this is often backed up with research. Again, the images that people make are not, they're completely false. And when you actually look into it, it's the same, yeah. Like, you literally can't find these quote-unquote images that people made up. But the other thing I have to mention is the reason that they have phones and clothing for that matter, and even just food. The thing is, phones aren't always expensive. I don't know why people don't realise this, but depending on like the model, it usually isn't that expensive, and usually you can get them refurbished, which comes cheaper than if they were obviously RSP. Is it RSP? I can't remember the actual retail selling price. Yeah, it has to be. You know, it's not always that simple. And the reason they have phones to begin with is because they are an essential part of life now. You know, you boomers thinking, oh, well, we didn't have phones back in our day, and we got around just fine. No, times have fucking changed, and we're being shoehorned into things we don't want to. You know, even myself, I don't really like it. You know, we're being forced to use phones for the internet, to access doctor's appointments and details, and it's just not great. Like, I know back in the day you used to probably just get a phone call whenever you were available. And nowadays it's like, you just get an email, and it is more convenient, admittedly, but it isn't to everyone's taste, and that I can agree with. But at the same time, you have to get with the trend or get lost, because those are the only two ways you go from here. And that's the unfortunate reality for older people. You know, it's literally the only way it will work. And it's not really our problem, it's not really the newer generation's problem to deal with that. So yeah, again, where people get this idea that migrants live in luxury whilst others live in poverty is just completely false, because those living in poverty are earning far more than migrants usually. And it's because migrants have to take on multiple jobs on top of their basic income, I'm pretty sure of that. That part I didn't actually research, but I'm not pretty sure there is sort of two things going on at once. So it's not even a case of them being lazy or just taking jobs or just being a nuisance. It's literally hard work and dedication. Something that a lot of people do not fucking have. And oftentimes when we're blaming immigrants for taking jobs, well, look at the generations we have now. Like, they're not taking the jobs. Why? Because of the pay. Nobody wants that low of a fucking pay. It's such a joke of a pay gap, the salary rather, that nobody wants it. And even someone like myself, who is getting below minimum wage, in terms of free spending anyway, as other costs are fairly covered, I'd say. Yeah, there's so much bullshit in this, and just gets me thinking, like, what the fuck are people thinking? Literally. Why is there this hyperfixation on this? The reason people don't want jobs is because they're not being paid enough, and they're not being paid enough because, guess what? It's not immigrants, it's billionaires. The people raking all the money that they do not need, that they could be spending on others, is fucking everyone over. So yeah, like, a job. Literally, that's the situation. Like, immigrants have nothing to do with it. So stop being fucking ridiculous, please. Because it is literally all linked back to immigrants. And that's it. That's all. It's all about fucking billionaires, not immigrants. I can't remember if I misspoke there. Bloody short-term memory loss moment there. Yeah, like, literally, people need to listen, because this is important. And that's why I bring this up. There are literally cases where it isn't always the fault of others, necessarily. And everyone's quick to blame someone for these problems, but that isn't always that simple. It's not always a reality. So yeah, I don't really think there's much else to say on that. You know, that's the gist of it. It's just frustrating scenarios. Plenty. Yeah. That's about it.